should be recording now. Without further ado then, I will pass you over to Rachel and her numerous colleagues who will tell you a great deal about law. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. That's great. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel. I'm HR Director at Talbots Law. I'm just going to be bringing up a presentation to share with you all. If you could let me know, Paul, when you can see that okay, that would be great.
I can see the edited
That's
slides.
great. It's clicking on the beginning. It's just thinking about it. There we are. Are you good?
Not quite yet. Ah, yes, there we go.
Brilliant. Okay, so my colleagues Emma, Deborah, Victoria and Sophie and I are all delighted to be able to join you today. Time is limited today, so I'm going to assume that as you're all such great students that you've done your research on the Talbots Law website and that you've got a good understanding about the areas of law that we offer and Talbot's story. If you haven't done that, don't worry, but have a look afterwards because it will give you a better context of all the things that we've talked about today. So today we're hoping to give you a bit of a glimpse behind the scenes. So I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about Talbots, why we think we're different and why we think this could also apply to you as a candidate. I'm also going to interview my colleagues and hopefully we will answer some of the questions you've asked. I'll then close with some top tips for you to consider as you start to plan the next step in your career journey. So, how many law firms do you think there are in England and Wales? You can't shout out, I'm afraid, because we're virtual this year. Well, I can tell you there are an awful lot of law firms. There are law firms in every town, every city, all over the place in the country. And they're all offering very similar, if not identical, legal services. So there are 11,100 SRA regulated law firms in England and Wales. That's a lot of law firms. And all of those law firms would like the clients and the business and probably the people that we've got. So every day our clients have choices open to them. They can come to Talbots or they can go elsewhere. So as a law firm, we need to stand out from the crowd. We need to ensure that our clients choose us. I asked that question because I think it's a very similar one to the question and the situation that candidates are in. How do you make yourself stand out from thousands or many other hopeful candidates? So the first piece of insight I want to share with you is that there is no single one thing that will get you there. There's no secret mechanism to getting new clients, and it's the same for you as a candidate. There'll be no single thing that makes you stand out. It's a package. And it's specific to you. If you get most of that right, then you're in with a good chance of success, whatever success means to you. So let me just tell you a little bit about how we've made this work at Talbots. So what makes us different? We have our vision. This is our vision. It's very simple. We aim to be our region's legal provider of choice. We have a vision and a clear focus as a company. Everyone in our business understands their role in delivering this and why it's important. We're a business and we want to grow. We're always looking for better ways to serve our clients to improve what we do and how we deliver it. We're commercially savvy. We're not afraid to talk about profit and commercial elements of what we do. If we don't offer a great service at competitive prices, then we won't be the best. Keeping that at the forefront of our mind means we never get complacent and we're always striving towards our vision and our purpose. We don't try and be something we're not. We're a Black Country law firm and we're passionate and proud about being the best in our region and serving our local community. Although we do have many national and some international clients too. Our vision is at the heart of our company values. There's lots of values on the screen. You might not be able to read them all, but again, they're on the website. Our company values are incredibly important to us. They highlight how we work and the attitude and behaviours we expect from one another at Talbots. Our values are our company culture. We promote our values during recruitment and we use them in our career development. It's vitally important for Talbots to attract and retain like-minded people who will share our vision and our culture. So when we recruit, we look for excellent local candidates who understand our vision and who identify with our values. I could tell you so many stories of values-led recruitment, but we've only got a very short time today. I've been at Talbots just over 6 years and I absolutely love it. My passion is people and career development. I can genuinely say that I love my job, my company, and most of all, the people I work with. I hope this just gives you a very quick glimpse of our purpose and culture at Talbots, how we think we stand out from the thousands of other firms and why we believe that we can offer something unique. We have a vision. We're specific and we're intentional in what we want to achieve. We have values. This is how we work together and our company culture. We're authentic, and this is why we do what we do. Everyone at Talbots brings a unique set of skills, abilities, and passion to the company. So we have our what, our how, and our why. And if you were to ask me how you might start to stand out from the crowd, then I would say that this is a good place for you to start too. So here's us. Let me introduce my colleagues. You've heard a bit about the company. Now I'd like to introduce Emma, Deborah, Victoria and Sophie, who I work with at Talbots. I'm going to be asking the team some questions now. So can I just turn this screen off for a second? Have you still got my screen, Paul? Yeah, that's better. Okay, so first of all, Emma, could you just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do at Talbots?
Yep, my name's Emma. I'm a chartered legal executive and I work in the residential development team at Talbots. I've been with Talbots now for just coming up to 2 years.
Fantastic. Tell us, Emma, what did you study at school and college, and what route did you take after you left?
I can't actually remember what subjects I took at secondary school, so that was an interesting question to try to think back. But at college, when I left school and went to college to do AS and A levels, I wasn't sure at that point what career path I wanted to take, so I took a mixture of subjects. I took science subjects, together with law, government and politics and English. I didn't end up taking the traditional route due to illness, didn't complete my A-levels at college, and that's how I found out about the alternative IELTS route, and that's the route I took to become a qualified lawyer.
That's awesome. And when did you decide you wanted to go into the law?
For me, it was when I started studying law at AS level, when I initially picked that. That was the main subject that really stood out to me and that I really enjoyed studying. So that's where my decision stemmed from to take a career path in law.
No, that's good. That's good. So I'm going to ask the same question to Victoria. So tell us a little bit about you, what you do. You might want to mention where you were at college.
Yeah. So, I'm Victoria. I'm a trainee paralegal within the Commercial Property Department on the Legal Apprenticeship Scheme with Talbots, and worked here for nearly 3 years. I went to college at King Ed's and I came straight to work from Talbots after I'd finished my A-levels.
And when did you first decide you wanted to get into law, Victoria?
Mine was probably in the first year of college. I decided to take A-level law as an A-level because I wasn't entirely sure on what I was and didn't really know what I was interested in. However, during my time at King Ed's, I went and did work experience at the Magistrates Court, and needless to say, I was really interested in the law, and then applied to Talbots, and that's how I got onto the path and decided that I wanted to do what I am doing.
Awesome, thank you. And Deborah, so tell us a bit about yourself and the role that you do at Talbots.
My name's Deborah Honick. I'm an associate solicitor at Talbots. I qualified as solicitor back in 2004, and I've been working at Talbots for just over a year in the commercial property team, and my specialism is asset management, which is a small area of commercial property.
Awesome. And tell us what you studied at school, college, and the route that you took.
I took quite a traditional route into law, so I did GCSEs followed by A-levels quite a while ago at King Edward's, and then I went on straight into university, did a 4-year sandwich course at university, straight into law school, straight into a training contract, and then qualified into law that way.
Awesome. And did you always want to study law?
Yes, I did work experience when I was at secondary school at a law firm, a local law firm, and set my mind on it then.
Fantastic. So Debs, what does a typical day look like in your job, and what's your favourite bit?
The good thing about commercial property is every day is different. You go into work and you're not sure what you're going to expect that day. There's no two transactions that are the same. It's just a challenge every day, which is great. And it's the thing I enjoy the most is delivering a conclusion for the clients. It's good to feel part of their team, to work with them on something and get to achieve their aim.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about you, Emma? What's a typical day like for you, and what's your favourite bit?
So at the moment, the role is obviously very desk-based, because obviously we're limited as to where we can go at the moment. So a typical day would involve dealing with emails, calls, reviewing legal documents, advising clients. So that's typically what I'd be getting up to on a day-to-day basis. I would say the favourite aspect of the job for me, and in particular the area of law that I work in development, is being able to help a client buy a piece of land and then help them and see that development grow and build into houses, and then obviously we'd help the client sell the houses. So being able to help them, help the client, and see a transaction through from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's good. And how about you, Tori? What's a typical day like for you, and what's your favourite bit?
My day's pretty much like Emma's. It consists of desk-based work, but I deal with a lot of administration on the files, and have just recently started doing more legal work as I've passed exams and things like that. My favourite aspect of my job is watching a transaction from start to finish and having communication with clients and spending time with colleagues and just really seeing a matter develop and progress.
That's brilliant. That's so good. Thank you. So I'm interested, Emma, what advice would you give to students who are looking to train in law?
I think my key advice would have to be that you have to be determined and committed. It's not, it's not an easy path to take. You may face hurdles, but you have to persevere, carry on, and you will get there in the end. That's
really good. Anything you'd want to add to that, Deborah?
I'd just say follow the subjects that interest you from A-levels onwards. You can always convert into law at a later date. And I actually did a slightly different course, a Bachelor of Science, which incorporated economics into my degree, which had law elements as well.
That makes sense. And Debs, what do you think some of the skills that universities might look for in students who want to study law?
I think a good basis is good communication skills, good analytical skills. When I was choosing my A-level subjects, I particularly thought on that basis and chose things like history, where you have to analyse, English literature when you're looking and analysing and coming to conclusions. All those skills are portable into law.
Brilliant. Okay. And so Emma and Deborah, how did you become more commercially aware?
I think with me, it comes with experience and being exposed, to that commercial environment, in the particular of, area that you're interested in or working in or working towards. I think that, that's the best way to become more commercially aware.
Would you agree with that, Debs?
From my point of view, I took a placement year during my degree course, which gave me a year's experience in industry, learning how contracts operated. Although not practicing law at that time, I got experience in dealing with contracts and project management, which really helped make me commercially aware at that point.
And are there any books, publications or websites that you could recommend, Emma or Deborah?
I think for me, I wouldn't recommend any particular books, because you will read, you know, the legal textbooks as you study in law, and yeah, they're probably quite difficult to digest before you started studying law. But I think if you're interested in a particular area, say property, for instance, which is what I work in, then just keep up to date with current affairs. You know, what's happening in the world in terms of property, and I think, you know, in the early day, I think just becoming more aware of what you're interested in, probably the best advice I can give.
That's good. Anything you'd add to that, Deborah?
Yeah, I'd just add perhaps looking at the Law Society website, which is the professional governing body, that has some interesting links and articles, current affairs in the legal world. That's a good basis to have a look at. And if you are interested in property, like Emma said, keep up to date with property going on. There's the Estates Gazette, which has an online service that you can have a look at articles on there as well, just to increase your commercial awareness.
Right, okay, so sounds like being really inquisitive and just opening your eyes up to stuff. Now that's really good. Sophie, be good to ask you some questions. Can you briefly introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do at Talbots?
Yeah, cool. So I'm Sophie Swinsky, so I'm the HR executive and an associate at Talbots Law. So I started with the company in 2015, early 2015, as work experience, and then moved into a permanent role thereafter. I studied law at Birmingham City University and then studied a postgraduate diploma in HR thereafter as part of my learning that came along with Talbots. And I work alongside Rachel and Emma, who's also in our HR team, to support the wider function of the business, really.
That's good, and I'm very glad you do. How would you say students go about about finding the best university to study law?
Well, there's two aspects to this, really. There are a lot of league tables and kind of websites and forums that you can go to, but I would also recommend where you're able to, obviously COVID restrictions in place at the time, obviously have a look at the universities, have a look at their prospectuses. If they do online or in-person open days, go along to them and visit them and see if you could feel yourself studying there for 3, potentially longer, if you do LPC and afterwards courses, see if you can see yourself studying there, really.
That's good. What sort of qualities do you think an employer is looking for when interviewing for great legal people?
I mean, for me, somebody who's passionate about the area that they want to go into. Obviously, at the start of your career, that might be an idea into a couple of different areas that you're interested in, but really kind of looking into those areas, finding out what's going on, as Emma said, in terms of current affairs, how that might affect it, ways that the law is developing, but also just to show that you've had a look into it and really done the research in the area to find out if that's something you'd like to go into in the future.
Brilliant. And what sort of extracurricular activities do you think students could do to improve their CVs and their experience?
I think, you know, work experience, obviously, at the moment, that might be a little bit more difficult just due to kind of COVID things, but there's online workshops that you can look at, debating clubs. Some universities offer mooting competitions as well, and those will give you some really great advocacy skills. But just in terms of presenting things and making sure that you're comfortable speaking in front of people, and some of those basic skills, I think getting into that type of activity would be really helpful to demonstrate on your CV that you've already started taking steps towards developing those skills that you'll need in a career in law.
Yeah, brilliant. And you mentioned work experience there, and obviously that's something we absolutely love doing in normal times, but at the moment it's a matter of we can't fit all our own staff into our offices with social distancing, so we're probably 1 or 4 or 1 in 5 of normal numbers. So obviously we're not accepting applications at the moment, everything's on pause, but for people who are local and genuinely interested in a career in law, especially potentially apprenticeships, that's something that as and when the time comes we will be absolutely delighted to be looking at again. Tell us about the routes into legal apprenticeships, Sophie, and how competitive, do you think they're competitive?
Yeah, over the last kind of 3 or 4 years, we've seen a massive development into the routes into the legal sector. So one of the main things on that is the new Trailblazer apprenticeships. So Victoria is one of our apprentices at Talbots who takes part on the level 6 ILEX course. So the routes through to that, there's level 3 entry points and level 6 entry points. So that will obviously look at kind of the experience and the academic qualifications you've got previously. But if you've got a good standing in law, if you've studied that at A level or similar subjects, that'll stand really well in your stead as well. But they will be competitive. Obviously, there's a lot of people that want to get into law, so finding ways that you can really stand out will be really helpful, and doing a lot of research into it, but just to make yourself stand out from the crowd, because there will be competitive roles. And
what are your thoughts about the apprenticeship route into law?
Yeah, I'm a massive advocate of apprenticeships and really learning on the job. I've come from a legal academic background, but the kind of knowledge and the skills that you'll gain as part of a role in an office, working with other people and soaking up as much of their knowledge and practical skills will be a wonderful starting point for your career. So I really think that legal apprenticeships are a fantastic way into the industry to learn that practical element to legal work, really.
Just one last question. Does a student need to study law for the country they want to live in? So if somebody went to university in England but then chose to live in Ireland?
Yeah, so it depends on kind of the jurisdiction that you're in. English and Welsh law tends to come under the same regulatory authorities. So, for instance, most law degrees will study the compulsory areas of English law. That's similar to SILEX as well. So you might find that if you do study in England, for instance, and you went to practice in a different country, you may need to transfer your qualifications. But there will obviously be a lot of transferable skills and knowledge that you'll be able to pick up during those courses. Similarly, if you study in a different country and then wish to practice in England or Wales, you would need to look at potentially converting those courses. But again, a lot of the transferable skills that you would learn would go across the different jurisdictions.
Oh, that's really good. Thank you all. Thank you for answering those questions. I hope everyone's found that helpful. If there are further questions, as Paul said at the beginning, it would be great if you could send them to your King Ed's careers team, and they can collate those and forward them over to us. We love questions. We love people being inquisitive. So back to our 5 top tips. You've heard about Talbots and you've heard a few of our stories. I'm trying to get my presentation to work. There we are. Bear with, not quite. So this bit is the bit where you have the opportunity to reflect and consider how all of this applies to you. So what are our 5 top tips when thinking about your CV and your onward journey? We'd say be professional, do your research, whether that's just to have a conversation with somebody or to send in an email to do your CV, an application, or for an interview. Make sure you've done your research, looked at the company website, find out about them. Don't just rehash whatever is written on the website, but really find out what that company's about, what their vision is about, what it's like to work there. Be accurate, use good grammar, write that email in the old-fashioned way. I'm showing my age now, but really write it in a professional way that gives the absolute best impression about you as a candidate. It doesn't need to dress, you don't need to dress the part when writing the CV, but certainly when you go to interview or you go out to any meetings where you might be meeting with potential employers, you want to dress the part, you want to dress to impress. We love individuals, we love people being unique. That's what's all about, what makes us Talbots. But it's important to know how you come across and customise it. Don't just send that copy and paste email application and same CV out to every employer, because believe me, it just shows. Even if you just tweak it to be specific to the person you're writing to, include their name, find out who's the person who does the recruitment, it just shows that people genuinely are interested in that company. Then when you're watching a presentation, or when you're talking to somebody, having a conversation at a careers event, talking to your amazing careers staff, they can pay me in chocolate later. Ask questions, listen to what they're saying, be inquisitive, really, you know, walk towards that conversation. So many people, I think if anybody's having a careers conversation with you, they're doing it because they're interested. They're interested in you, they're interested in career development. That's why we're all here in our giving up our time today, because we're so passionate about this and we just love the opportunity to meet all of you, even if we can't see you. Stand out, you want to stand out from the crowd. Think about what is the reason that you know, where you want to get to, why you want to get there, and what, you know, what is it about you that makes you stand out? Why are you unique? Where are your passions? And don't be afraid to show that, because people love stories. People love to know about people and what makes them different. So when you can get work experience, it's tough at the moment. There are online volunteering activities. It's not impossible. I've been volunteering online throughout lockdown and doing some community stuff. Nothing's impossible if you set your mind to it and find opportunities. You know, they're just a bit different to what you might have expected they would be before. So look for activities like some of my colleagues have mentioned. Look for voluntary work, you know, wherever you can get experience. Don't even think, you know, about getting paid for it. Just get your foot in the door, get that experience talking to people and in the community. Be specific, you know, as you can. We know sometimes at the start of people's career, it's hard to say which areas of law. Some people do know that, some don't. But as soon as you do start to get a real feel for the areas of law that you really enjoy and you're most interested in, talk about that. You know, we get so many people saying, oh, anything will do, and it's just not a great impression. You want to hear people say, I am passionate about X or these sorts of things, and helping people with this, and you know, that really stands out and gets people to take you seriously, and helps them to consider you in their business for where you might add value. And I would say be authentic, be yourselves. I can't encourage you enough to show where you're passionate about things, areas of law, different activities you're involved in outside of studies. Think about those extracurricular activities, be yourself, and talk with any employer about those, because that's what's going to make you stand out, and people buy people. So thank you for having us. I hope this has been interesting. And it's given you some helpful tips, and certainly maybe given you some ideas and started the thought process for you. And we would welcome any questions, like I say, but otherwise, thank you, and back over to Paul.
Well, great, thank you ever so much. As mentioned, if there are any further questions that weren't covered in all that, then if you want to drop myself or Louise or the careers email address, then we'll pass those on. And we'll also, as I mentioned, as this is recorded, I'll stop that in a moment. We'll make it available to all students in the next day or so. But apart from that, that was pretty awesome. So I want to pass on my thanks to all of you. That's all 5.
Our pleasure.
Thank you ever so much. That was very insightful and greatly appreciated.
Cool. Thank you so much. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.
Indeed. Take care. Bye.
Bye.